Okay, so um, my first, your first ever on stream too, but my first set review. Should we just get her started, or do you have any thoughts? Shawke is my real life brother, everyone. So hi.
Howdy. Glad to be here.
Did you have any initial thoughts, or do you just want to go ahead and start?
First, I'm excited to do this set review, and I've had a lot of fun going through and reading these cards ahead of time. Maybe we could explain to folks the grading system that we're gonna provide as we go through each of these cards.
I think that is good. Do you want to go ahead and just read it off?
Sure. Yeah. So we're giving letter grades to each of these cards. The best grade a card can get is an A, and the worst is an F. An A means that it's one of the best cards in the format. It's something you should prioritize in the draft, and obviously that's the thing. Since this isn't a standard legal set, we're looking at everything from a limited perspective, and something with an A could win you the game. The B is going to be for cards that have high value. They're strong cards. You should prioritize them whenever possible, but they're not necessarily those more bomby kind of game-winning sort of cards. So a B is an excellent card. You definitely want to get it, but an A is more of that. If you get this, you're probably going to win. C is for cards that are fillers. They're fine, but they're not amazing, and they may or may not make the cut after you're done with your draft and you're trying to whittle your deck down. Ds are generally poor value for their cost, or they're only good in certain situations. And then an F again is for a card that you should generally avoid in limited. Yeah, let's get going. Do you want to maybe offer your rating? I'll offer mine, and then we can discuss if we differ any. And I guess the other thing that I failed to mention is we're also allowing ourselves to have pluses and minuses if need be. So something could be a B minus or a C plus, that kind of thing.
Perfect for mentioning that. So yes, I'll go ahead and start, and I'll give it my rating, and maybe for the next set, I'll let you read that, and we'll flip flop that kind of thing.
Sure.
All right. So for this one, banish from. Ad, I know I'm going to mispronounce stuff, and you're welcome to correct me, of course. he is my older brother after all.
I minored in English, if that helps, but I didn't minor in Middle Earth English, so I don't know that I'm going to pronounce these better than you. We'll see.
So yeah, banish from Adoris. It's a one white mana, 4 colorless. This it's a sorcery, and this spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature, and we are going to exile target creature. I actually gave this a B just because it's removal and it's exile. I mean, I could probably say B minus because it's sorcery speed. And maybe after thinking about it, that's kind of where I'll go as a B minus with this one.
Yeah, no problem. I gave this one a B. I did consider the sorcery speed component you're talking about. I certainly would have preferred it being instant, but there's a few things I like about it. One, 5 mana for something that exiles a creature, no matter what creature it is, pretty darn good removal in general, right? The fact that it could cost 2 less if the creature's already tapped sort of helps make up a little bit for the fact that it's not an instant. The other thing, I guess maybe a general discussion that we could share with the audience is this set is very kind of medium grade in a lot of ways. It feels like a core set, one that you would get when the rotation's coming around in the Magic cards, and there's going to be sets coming out later that build on it. But it's kind of odd because, again, this being more of just a modern playable deck, then it's not a traditional core set. But anyway, I guess I'm saying this is not full of a lot of the super strong cards that we saw in some of the previous sets like March of the Machines, right? So I think it's a B, but I'm cool with your B minus. I recorded both of them. I think we're pretty close there.
Okay, perfect. So uh Yeah. Um, just like you said, it's build a pony. Yeah. Uh, if it was instant, I'd give it a higher B rating, but yeah, it's because of the sorcery speed, B minus for me. So,
All right. So the Battle of Bywater.
all right. So it's 2 white mana, 1 colorless sorcery. Destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. Then create a food token for each creature you control. And I can hear myself just barely on your end. Is it speakers, maybe?
I'm on a headset.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I can adjust the microphone sensitivity or not. I'll play with that a little bit while we're talking.
Okay. Well, I gave this a B minus also just because of sorcery speed.
Again, B minus. I could be talked into it. I gave it a B. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out since it's only focused on creatures with power 3 or greater. Obviously, it's great for the white deck, which has a lot of smaller creatures, and so this punches above their weight class, takes out all the bigger stuff and allows the little things to stay on board. Kind of interesting. Um, and it's also pretty interesting, all the food tokens, right? That it can churn out, because that's something white wants to do in this set. So I'm cool with your B minus. I gave it a B, but I think we're really close on that too.
Sounds good. Bill the Pony for 1 white mana, 3 colorless, legendary creature horse. When Bill the Pony enters a battlefield, create 2 food tokens. And of course, you can sacrifice a food. And then until end of turn, target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. I just gave this one a straight up C because it's 4 mana for a 1/4. But it does cool stuff if you got food.
Yeah, which white's going to have, right? Unless for some odd reason you were splashing Bill the Pony just for sentimental reasons or something. But if you're playing white, you're going to have food tokens. I also gave it a C, though. I guess it'll remain to be seen how this works out. Um, I was thinking about it for Bill the Pony as a blocker, for example. So if somebody's attacking in and you block with Bill the Pony, then you sack a food. Now you're going to deal 4 damage just from this card to whatever's attacking it. Kind of interesting. We'll see. But yeah, I gave it a C, which for an uncommon card, a C is not a bad grade, right? It's just I don't think it's crazy powerful. We'll see.
I mean, I would love, genre, the disrespect for Bill. I would love to change my rating on this later in the future, but we'll see. I mean, just right now, yeah. And then, of course, genre mentioned something useful about the Battle of Bywater as well. Since sorcery speed, it's a destroy multiple, which is appropriate. But yeah, if it was instant or higher, obviously I would higher rating. But yeah, moving on. All right, so Boromir, Warden of the Tower, 1 white mana, 2 colorless, legendary creature, human soldier, vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. And then we can sacrifice Boromir for creatures we control, gain indestructible until end of turn, and the ring tempts you. I gave it a B because it's 3 mana for a 3/3. And it does awesome value stuff on top of it.
I gave it a B also. I mean, I was almost tempted to give it a B plus, right? Because there could be some pretty nice cases where that indestructible component really works. Because one of the things that white seems to want to do is go wide in this set. So if you had a lot of stuff on board, and maybe as a final attack, you swing all. And you don't need Boromir for the damage. I don't know. It's pretty interesting, but I think it's at least a B, and so we're in alignment on that one.
All right, so Dawn of a New Age. It's 1 white mana, 1 colorless. Dawn of a New is an enchantment, and at Dawn of a New Age enters a battlefield with a hope counter on it for each creature you control. And at the beginning of your end step, remove a hope counter from Dawn of a New Age. If you do, draw a card. Then if Dawn of a New Age has no hope counters on it. Sacrifice it, and you gain 4 life. So I gave it a B plus.
We are in perfect alignment, sir. I also gave it a B plus. I think it's good. I don't think it's game changing, but I guess it depends on when you could play it, right? So, like, if I draw this in my opening hand, I'm not going to be as excited about it as I would be later in the game if I have a bunch of weenie white creatures out there, where I could get a lot more hope counters. Then the card draw becomes really strong, right? Plus the 4 life is not terrible, but yeah, solid B plus for sure.
Yeah, and absolute agreement with everything you said there. It is a situational card, but I think you're going to get value out of it whether you got 2 creatures or 5. So yeah. Genre says probably should also be legendary. Legendary
Yeah,
enchantment. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, here's where I could mispronounce this, other than because it's got the little accent symbol, but Dune Blade.
I'm good with your pronunciation. Dundane, Dunedane. I'm sure again a real Tolkien fan would correct this, but yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, well, it's 1 white mana, 1 colorless artifact equipment, and when this so it equips on equipped creature, it gets +2/+1. If you can cast it for its equip cost for 1, if you're equipping to a human, otherwise it's 3 colorless. I I gave this a C/D because of the human versus the non-human status. If you're playing this in your deck and you don't have any humans that it's going on, I feel like it's a D. If you got the humans, then it's a C.
Yeah, I gave it a C also. I think it's kind of situational, like you're saying. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. In white, it's mainly humans, by the way. So it
True.
makes sense in color that the equipped cost isn't too bad there. But I don't think you're going to play mono white like hardly ever. I don't know. We'll see. I think you're going to be playing white with other things. So that's where that may come into play. And there's a lot of equipment that are artifacts later, that are colorless. That may be more valuable. But I'd be fine with it if I was doing an equipment thing. But we'll have to see. It's just a C. It's fine. I would draft it but I don't know that I would pick it over higher value things, and it may or may not make the cut depending on what my deck is doing by the time I'm done with the draft.
That's exactly how I feel, especially when it comes to equipment. I tend to value other things more highly over equipment, but at the same time, it's it is a decent. It's like John Ray mentioned. It is a decent equip, especially in my opinion. If you're playing white heavy, you're down to have some humans. So obviously, it's got it at that point, but it's not something I would definitely splash outside of your color for, which is why I ranked it a D. But yeah.
All right. What do we got next?
So Eagles of the North, 1 white mana, 5 colorless creature, bird, soldier, flying. And when Eagles of the North enters the battlefield, creatures you control get a +1/+0 and gain first strike until end of turn. It's also got plain cycling for 1 colorless mana on it as well. So, and it's a 3/3. So with this, I kind of gave it a C+ because it's for me. I mean, other than just being a C card, for me, it's just one of those, because it's got plain cycling. It's also got first +1 and first strike. I feel like when you're going heavy with white, hopefully, like the Dawn of the New Age card, you got creatures down, and that this could be a little bit more effective. Otherwise, it's a straight up C. But I gave it a C+.
Yeah, I originally gave this a C, but the more that I've gone through other cards in the set, I think I'm with you on the C plus because it seems to me, and I haven't gone back and compared the statistics, that there are fewer flyers in this set than I'm kind of used to. So I think flyers may be a secret weapon. So any flyers, pretty good. Um, so I'm with you on C plus for this one.
So moving on to East Farthing Farmer, 1 white mana, 2 colorless, creature halfling peasant. When this enters the battlefield, create a food token. When you do, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each food you control. And it's a 2/3. So with this, I gave it a C just because, and maybe I could, after use, maybe bump it to C plus, with the food synergy. Because when I first started my review, I didn't catch, like right off the bat that white produces, some food, and or a good chunk of food. But now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I don't know. Maybe I'm still going to keep this as a C.
I'm with you. I initially rated it as a C, and that's where I'm going to leave it for now. But I think situationally it could be a B. And so think about, for example, where you've got a case where you got a bunch of food tokens out already. You've played the card we just talked about, Eagles of the North, so you've got a 3/3 flyer sitting there. And now you drop this thing down pre-combat, and it gives, I don't know, +5/+5 to your eagle, for example, right? Like it could be a win con in the right situation. So I'm cool with it being a C for now. But this is definitely a white card doing white things with all the food tokens. That's what they're about in this set. So I'm going to keep an eye on this one, right? And by the way, this card and Eagles of the North are both some that you need to pay attention to, because you're going to want to play them pre-combat to get the value out of them. There's some players that have kind of conditioned themselves to play a lot of stuff at end of turn, and you definitely want to keep an eye on that for this one.
Yeah, Jean Ray also mentions, enter the battlefield triggers with variables often diminish value based on context. I feel that as well. That's why when my first gut was like, it's a C, but I could see it being a C plus. Depending on situationally, and who knows? Like you said, maybe it improves better over time, or maybe it doesn't. So we'll find out. East Mark Cavalier, 1 white mana, 1 colorless, creature human knight, vigilance, for a 2/2. And whenever this deals damage to a goblin or orc, destroy that creature. Well, for a 2 mana, 2/2 vigilance, let me look at my thing here. I gave it a C plus because I think it's great filler. And especially if you're, it's a great blocker for those goblins or orcs too. So on top of that.
Yeah, 100%. I also gave it a C plus. Like you said, a 2/2 with vigilance by itself is a great card. And then to have the upside if they've got a goblin or orc, wonderful. And also, we were dissing on the equipment earlier. I would draft that equipment if I had a deck of enough of these kind of cards in it, right? Because it's
Oh
only
yeah.
one equip there, and this thing has vigilance. So now it becomes a 4/3 with vigilance. That's a much bigger threat. So, yep, perfectly happy to pick this card up.
Exactly, and with the equipment being mentioned there, it's like you said with our rating. C is filler, that's fine, but not amazing. May or may not make the draft cut. But D are generally poor value, or good only situationally. Yeah, if I had a few Cavaliers in my draft pick and I saw that equipment roll by, I definitely would pick it because then it's now higher up on my rating. So.
All right, moving on.
Scrolling this down. Eowyn. Lady of Rohan. 1 white mana, 2 colorless, legendary creature, human noble. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature gains your choice of first strike or vigilance until end of turn. If that creature is equipped, it gains first strike and vigilance until end of turn instead. Equipped abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate. So let me move my little cursor here. I gave it a B minus, but
that mean you're reconsidering your rating?
Talking about our equipment. Yeah, genre. Like, there's our equipment, Rock.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if you're in an equipment deck, this is probably B minus. I gave it a C plus because I'm with you. You know, it's better than just a straight C. I'm not crazy about a 3 mana 2/4. I mean, the four booty's kind of useful as a blocker, I guess. But all the other stuff here, if you're doing equipment things, that's pretty interesting. And even if you're not, giving a creature your choice of first strike or vigilance, pretty useful. So, uh, very handy card, perfectly fine. If I drafted it, I would probably play it. But I don't think it's crazy powerful. Again, man, we'll see once we get a chance to play these in action.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the B minus, I think sticks for me personally, just because it's 3 mana, 2/4, and yeah, big booty, but only I don't know. I would love to see this one. I would love to be wrong about this one.
I think in an equipment deck, this is a B, solid B, right? But
Yeah.
outside the equipment deck, which is why I was kind of C plus. I think it's situational.
Yeah, I actually consider C plus and B minus actually pretty equivalent.
Pretty close. Yeah, I'm with you.
So Aaron, writer of Gondor, one white mana, two colorless, creature, human, soldier, and when this enters the battlefield, draw a card. Then, if you don't control a legendary creature, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library, and it's a 3/2. So with this, I gave it a B minus because of the draw card, the looting.
Yeah, I was at C plus. Because you know a 3 mana 3/2 is it's fine. The draw card, I with you. That's pretty nice. I was also I guess I didn't go to the B minus just because there are a ton of legendary creatures. There's been jokes like everything's legendary. Like look at Eowyn, for example, right? An uncommon but legendary. Um, but I don't know. I guess I was picturing situations where I'm drawing this thing and I don't have a legendary, so I draw a card, discard a card. It's not as useful as draw a card and keep, right? But yeah, it's a great card, and in the right deck, I think it'll do some work.
Yeah, that's anytime you draw a card and you have to get rid of something, whether it's going back to your library or a graveyard. That's why I call it a loot effect, because you're kind of scrounging through. But I think that always gives you an advantage over your opponent, especially if they're not having to do any of that. And with this, you're not actually putting it into the graveyard. You're actually just sticking it right back into your library. So for me, that has an upside, which is why I gave it the B minus instead of C plus.
Sounds good.
So the escape from Orthanc. Oh man, these there's going to be some Middle Earth nerd out there that's going to rage on me. So one white mana, instant, target creature +1/+3. So target creature gets +1/+3 and gains flying until end of turn, and you also untap it. I gave it a C minus because if it was +3/+1, I'd be like, oh yeah, but right. +1/+3. I mean, yeah, you're hopping something over, or you're catching something with like, hey, I got reach now. But do I prioritize it? I don't know. I'd be happy with one in my deck, but that's why I went with C minus.
Yeah, well, again, in our C category, filler that are fine but not amazing may or may not make the cut after your draft. This is definitely in that C category. I just gave it a regular old C, not a C minus. I I think it's fun that it's kind of the reverse of a sneak attack. It's a sneak block, probably, right? You probably use this as an instant when you've got your stuff tapped down and they attack with a flyer, and then you're like, surprise! I can untap something, pop up and block you, and I've got a bigger booty, so I'm not going to die. Now, am I going to kill their thing? I don't know, but I think it's a fun combat trick, so it's a perfectly good C to me. Like you said, I'd probably play one in the right kind of deck.
By the way, what time could you go to? I forgot to ask you.
I'm good till about 4, man. Probably want a little break as we go along, but I've got the afternoon blocked out.
Yeah, if whenever you need a break, let me know.
And yeah, I agree with genre. Defensive spells have a place, but not always reliable. Very true. But so I don't know that I would priority pick this, but again, that's why I just gave it a C. I would probably draft it, and then we'd see if it made the cut.
Okay, moving on to Esquire. Esquire, the king, 1 white mana. It's a creature, human soldier for 1/1, and it's got an activated cost here for 1 white mana for colorless, and then you tap it. Creatures you control get a +1/+1 until end of turn. And this ability costs 2 less to activate if you control a legendary creature. My initial reaction was to give this a C because it is without the activation costs, it's 1 mana for 1/1. Nothing fancy, nothing great, but it is a good mana dump. C plus is what I gave it.
Yeah, I gave it a C plus. Also, um, 1 mana 1/1 is fine, and especially if you're going for a more aggressive deck, which again, there's a lot of kind of white weenie vibes going throughout white in this deck. But I love the pump because what I'm seeing is that white wants to go wide. So again, imagine if you've got 7 or 8 tokens and they're all 1/1s, but now they're all 2/2s. That's a threat, right? That's a different proposition. So I think because of the pump, C plus could be good.
Sounds good. So Faramir, field commander, 1 white mana, 3 colorless, legendary creature, human soldier for a 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, draw a card. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you chose a creature other than Faramir, field commander, as your ring bearer, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. I gave it a B minus. 4 mana for a 3/3. When something dies, if a creature died under our turn, we draw a card. And of course, with all the ring tempting going on, if we choose anyone other than Faramir himself, then we also get to pump some creatures out too. So I gave it a B minus.
Yeah, I gave this one a solid B. I understand there are some conditional things here, but the card draw is fantastic. And then something that poops out 1/1s on a semi-regular basis, because like you said, there's a lot of stuff that where the ring tempts you, where that's going to get activated. Man, I don't know. I think it could be pretty darn good. I was even wondering if B wasn't enough, but yeah, I think it's a solid B for me, and I understand the B minus.
I mean, you kind of, because after my review of this set, I think I could switch this to a solid B. Because there's so many times when the ring is going to tempt you, and it would be nice to be able to pump some things out of this. And even if you're just sending a token in to sacrifice or whatever, you're drawing a card on top of it.
That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up because I thought of that when I was looking at the card and I'd forgotten it since then. Yeah, think about this again. I've got this card out and a handful of 1/1s, and I just swing in with a one or more of my 1/1s, and the opponent's sitting there easily able to kill them, but then asking themselves, do I want to take the mosquito bite damage, which over time adds up, or do I want to give them the card draw? So I love making the opponent choose between those two.
So, Flowering of the White Tree, it's 2 white mana. Legendary enchantment. Legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward 1. And then non-legendary creatures you control get +1/+1. I gave it an A minus.
Yeah, this was my first A that I gave. I think in the right deck, again, especially a go wide deck, this is really strong, man. And in fact, I might even be underestimating the Ward 1 value on the legendaries. but I think this is outstanding for 2 mana. The value is just so high. And again, if a lot of this is probably going to depend on when I draw this card, because if I could slam this down after I've already got a pretty wide board, this could be a game winner. So that's why I gave it an A.
Yeah, and John Ray says downsides are minimal, huge upside. I agree. This one, I would love to be in a draft where I draw more than one of these and put it in my deck.
Yeah, I'd be happy to get one, and it's one of those cards that would tempt me toward more white, maybe, right? Because it is double pip white, and Tradus and I were talking before this session that fixing doesn't look super awesome in this set. So you're probably going to be playing 2-color decks more often than not. I don't know, we'll see. But I think this is a super strong card and pretty cheap, man. And I haven't seen a ton of enchantment removal either, so it's going to be a real pain in the behind for an opponent when you get this down.
Okay, so Fog on the Barrow Downs. 1 white mana, 2 colorless, enchantment aura. This enchants a creature, and then when enchanted creature is a spirit, enchanted creature is a spirit and can't attack or block. So you enchant a creature, and then it becomes a spirit and can't attack or block. I gave it a C.
Yeah, I gave it a C minus. I think it's pretty weak removal because there's a lot of creatures that have triggered or activated abilities that, from what I'm seeing here, will still be available, even though the creature can't attack or block. And, we've already been through a few examples here, right, where the extra text on the card is what makes the creature valuable. So this is pretty as far as removal goes. I'd take it if I didn't have any other removal, but I don't know how often I'm going to end up playing this.
Absolutely. Forge Anew, 1 white mana, 2 colorless, enchantment, and when this enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as it's your turn, you may activate equip abilities anytime you could cast an instant. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost on the first equip ability you activate during each of your turns. I gave it a C because I don't know, maybe a D because our D is good only situationally. So if you have equipment, then yay. If not,
yeah, I gave it a C also. Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't draft this if I wasn't doing the equipment thing. But the only reason I didn't give it higher than a C, assuming that I do have equipment, is I'm just wondering how often. Like, I think the middle ability is the bottom 2 abilities are pretty interesting. So if I'm reading this right, what I think it would enable would be I've got a creature equipped that's attacking along with other creatures, and then after opponent declares blockers, I could move the equipment to another creature at no cost. I think that's what it's telling me, right? Because I can activate equipped abilities anytime you could cast an instant, and it's not gonna. And the first time I do it, it's going to cost me 0. So I could really mess up their block. All right, that makes it pretty interesting.
I'm going to give it a D plus.
Hey, that's cool. No problem.
Y'all can already see my love for equipment.
Well, you got to get quite a bit of equipment for an equipment deck to work, right? I mean, but there is some equipment later, especially once we get into artifacts, that could be pretty phenomenal. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
So Frodo, Sauron's Bane, 1 white mana, legendary creature, halfling citizen, 1/2, and he's got a mana ability here, which you can either activate for either. It's got the 1/black on it for both of them, so you can play either 2 white, 1 black, or 2 black. And then this is if Frodo Sauron's Bane is a citizen, it becomes a halfling scout because it is a citizen when it first comes into play, with the base power and toughness of 2, 3, and life. And then it's got 3 black mana to activate. If Frodo is a scout, it becomes a halfling rogue with whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses a game if the ring has tempted you 4 or more times in the game. Otherwise, the ring tempts you. My initial gut reaction of this was a B plus, but seeing how often the ring tempts you, I have
Yep.
got to change this to an A.
Yeah, I gave this one an A also, man. The funny thing about this though, I guess the only caveat is it pushes you pretty hard into Orzhov, right? Like you're gonna have to be black white to if you're gonna pick this card. Because 3-pip black to get to the effect that you really want um, is pretty necessary to me.
All right, scrolling down.
One other quick thing. The other trick becomes, how do I get a 2/3 through the opponent's defenses? Right? Because like, let's say the ring has tempted me 4 times, right? So I'm set up. But now it's still a 2/3 with lifelink. How do I get it through whatever they're going to try to block or remove it with? So I don't know. But yeah, I gave it an A for now.
I think that was why I gave it a B plus. Because I'm sitting there thinking, this is obviously going to be blocked, or but if we hold up, let me check the mechanic of the ring stuff here. Yeah, if it can't be, I mean, if it's the ring bearer, it gets through. So yeah, I got to give it an A.
Your ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power.
And it's a 1/2.
Well, it'd be a 2/3 probably by then.
2/3, yeah. And so,
or actually, that's interesting. You don't have to. Do you have to make it a scout?
Yeah, you have to make it a scout in order for it to get the halfling rogue status.
Oh, right. So it's going to be a 2/3, right? So it couldn't be blocked by creatures with power greater than 2.
So it's possible you get through, but
well, and here's the other thing: like by the time that the ring has tempted you 4 times, the third effect is whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it into combat. I mean, so
maybe keeping it at A is good because there's so much value you can get out of this. Even if they do end up blocking it, you're going to remove stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so this is 1 mana to play, but then you've got 2 more mana to get to the 2/3, and then 3 more mana to get to the game-winning thing. But I love how it builds. Yeah, I'm going to quit overthinking it and leave it as an A for now. We'll see how it plays out.
There we go. So Gandalf the White, 2 white mana, 3 colorless, legendary creature, avatar, wizard, which is a 4/5. It's also got flash, and you may cast legendary spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. And if a legendary permanent or an artifact entering or leaving the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. I actually gave it a B minus because, yeah, there's some artifact stuff which is okay, and there's also a lot of artifact stuff that isn't, and some legendary spells that have some ETB effects and then some that leave. So for me, at the end of the day, it was 5 mana for a 4/5 that I could flash in. So I gave it a B minus.
I firstly was a little disappointed that Gandalf the White wasn't more uber, right? Especially being a mythic card. And again, man, maybe we're underestimating some of these mechanics, but I gave it a B. What did you say you gave it, a B minus?
Yeah, B minus.
B minus. I gave it a B. There's a lot of stuff here conditionally that could be pretty cool. On my more detailed spreadsheet, where I actually made a column for creature ETB effects to kind of be able to go back and stare at it and go, okay, if that happened twice, how big a deal is that? Most of the time, it's not a giant deal. So I don't know that piece is as exciting as some other things. But I don't know, man. We'll have to see how it goes.
All right, so moving on to Hobbit Sting. 1 white mana, 1 colorless instant. Hobbit Sting deals X damage to target creature, where X is the number of creatures you control plus the number of foods you control. I'm gonna have to give this a C plus. I had it as initially as a C.
I've got it as a C also. I'm just picturing these times when I'm sitting here in my hand and my board is empty, and it's
Well,
it's
yeah.
just like you draw this late game and you just weep because you've got removal and they can't do anything. Um, but yeah, if you've got a full board, this could be great. It could remove some things with big booties, but it's conditional, so I just left it at C.
Jean-Ray also mentioned to consider for Gandalf the White, it's not just legendary creatures you can flash, but any legendary instants or sorceries and all artifacts. So that is true. I guess I just don't see, like, in the perfect draft, you'd have some value off this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I need to dig further into some of the artifact stuff because Tradus and I were talking before this call. I've gotten most of the way through red and reading ahead on these cards, and I've only seen some of the multicolored and artifacts, so I don't know off the top of my head if flashing in one of those artifacts on an opponent's turn is going to be a real game changer. I'd have to go dig in a little bit more, but it just feels so conditional to me. I don't know that I'm budging right now off of my B rating, but could be an A. I mean, I'd be happy to grab it, because Bs are really strong cards.
Well, and the way I was looking at it is like at the end of the day, if I don't have anything that it can work off of, it's still a flash 4/5. So I'm happy with that.
Well, yeah, good point. It could really ruin an opponent's day if you had kept up 5 mana, although they'll probably suspect you got something going on. But to flash this in on their turn, especially after they've, attacked, this could be pretty cool.
I never, well, Gandalf the White is pretty strong. I was going to say wizards are usually pretty frail and not something that are tanky, but yeah.
Because he has a sword and a staff. We'll see.
All right. So Horizon. Wait, I can't even talk today. Anyway, legendary creature, Bird Noble. It's 1 white mana, 4 colorless. It's flying. It's a 3/4, and whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, target attacking creature without flying gains flying until end of turn. It's a flyer, and it's 5 mana for a 3/4, and it's got some upside to it. I think this is a B or a B minus.
I gave it a B. Think about using it with the Frodo card, right? Like, if the ring had tempted you 4 times and now you're to that point where Frodo can just get the damage in, you win the game, right? So if the opponent doesn't have any flyers or removal, drop this down, swing in with 2 things, and Frodo wins the game for you, right? So I think the ability to give something flying is pretty big. So I'm pretty high on the card. I gave it a B also.
Yeah, it says target attacking creature without flying gains flying until end of turn. So what was it you were saying, John Ray?
Oh, he's like, it doesn't have to be an attacking creature that you put flying on, I guess. You could put the flying on. Wait. No, target attacking creature without flying gains flying. So let me read John Ray's note again. I'm not sure, genre. I think it's explicitly stating here, whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player. So it is saying that they have to be attacking a player. Target attacking creature without flying gains flying until end of turn. So like in my example, the Frodo would have to, let's see, so you send the 2/1s after the player. Oh, yeah, okay. And the creature attacking the planeswalker gets flying. Yeah. Yep, that's true. Yep, you could have two things. If as long as two things are attacking a player to activate this, then you're right. You could have other things attacking, like a planeswalker, for example,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and give it flying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Agreed.
yeah, yeah. I got confused what he was saying, but yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying now, genre.
Yeah, but I think Landerval is a B.
Okay, so Lost to Legend, 2 white mana, instant. Put target non-land historic permanent into its owner's library, fourth from the top. And historic for them is, what was it? Sagas.
It says there on the card, artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic.
Ah, perfect. So I gave this one, I gave it a C plus, because of the 2 pips of white mana. That's why. Otherwise, it would be a B minus because of the tempo play.
Yeah, I gave it a C plus also, and I was also thinking that this could be a way to, where if you had to, like, you could save your creature, right? I mean, putting it fourth from the top in your library is better than putting it in the graveyard.
True.
So might be sneaky to use it that way sometime. It's not the best removal in the world, but you're right, it is a tempo thing. And blue is definitely a heavy tempo color in this set in particular. So like in a blue-white deck, especially, I could see this really coming into play.
So Nimble Hobbit, 1 white mana, 1 colorless, creature, halfling, peasant. It's a 1/3. And whenever this attacks, you may sacrifice a food or pay 2 colorless and 1 white mana. When you do, tap target creature and opponent control. I gave it a C.
I gave it a C also, partially because it's a 1/3, right? So it feels like if I'm attacking with this, I mean, the tap down capability can be really strong, right? That can be just awesome in the right situation. But if I'm attacking with a 1/3, I don't know. I feel like I'm probably sending it to its death. So I don't know if I get to use this over and over. A lot of it's going to depend on board state. So yeah, it's a C. I would consider drafting it, but I wouldn't go out of my way, I think, to pick this one up.
Give me 1 second here. I want to hide my taskbar.
I think it's the bottom taskbar settings there.
Yay. Okay, got it. All right, so now for Wrath, now for Ruin. 1 white mana, 3 colorless, sorcery. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. They gain vigilance until end of turn. The ring tempts you. I gave it a C plus.
Man, we're mind melding today. I also gave it a C plus. Again, in a go wide deck, this could be pretty awesome. I do like that it's got the extra spice of the ring tempts you. Maybe this is even better than a C plus. I don't know. I know another streamer that doesn't like these kinds of cards, but I think if you got the right board state, this can be a game winner. So it's at least a C plus to me, and be interesting to see how this plays out. It would be nice if it was instant speed instead of sorcery, so that's probably why I won't give it a higher rating than that.
Same for me. It's good filler, very good filler, which is why I gave it a plus instead of a regular. So yeah. Okay. Protector of Gondor. It is 1 white, 3 colorless. Creature human soldier, that's a 3/3. And when this enters a battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. I gave it a B minus because it's 4 mana, 2 creatures.
Yeah, I originally gave it a C. You might be right. It's probably better than what I gave it, because of exactly what you said. That's good value. And I kind of like having the two bodies over having one because of the flexibility that gives you. So I think you talked me into it. I think I'm good with the B minus.
All right. So reprieve, one white mana, one colorless instant, return target spell to its owner's hand and draw a card. I gave it a B minus because it's basically a 2 mana cantrip, draw a card, but also tempo on top of it. So that's what I gave it.
I gave it a D. So this is one of those. You said you gave it a B,
B minus.
B minus. I
Oh
just felt like,
wait. Sorry. Whoop. I'm looking at Protector of Gondor. I gave it a C. There we go.
oh, you gave it a C. Okay. I guess the thing I was hung up on is that you're right. It is a tempo card, but I mean, just returning the spell to its owner's hand, it's not countering it. I'm like, well, they're just going to cast it again. But you're right. It does slow them down and gives you card draw. Um, Again, especially combined with blue, which is very tempo focused, this probably makes a lot of sense. I don't love it. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't see myself drafting this one very often, but maybe I'm making a mistake. So I'm going to stay at a D, but because I think it's situational. But you may be right.
See, I see it as a good C because it's good interaction, tempo, draw a card. But the way I'm gonna use it is whenever they play, something that they max out their mana, they play it, they summon it, and before the turn flips to me, I'm like, yeah, you can take that back. But yeah, kind of what you and Jean Ray are kind of feeling. It feels like a useless card about 50% of the time, which is why I gave it a good C.
Yeah, well, that's why I can't climb out of the D category, right?
Yeah,
Because
I feel you.
it's only useful situationally. 50, it's like 70% of the time it works all the time. It's
But the draw
from
card for
under to
me,
D.
yeah, that's why I'm like, but it draws a card. Come on.
Card draw is good, but yeah, okay. I mean, we'll see. And maybe it delays like a removal against one of your key permanents long enough that you win the game the next turn, right? But I mean, I think it's very situational. I guess we'll see.
All right, so Rosie Cotton of the South Lane, one white mana, two colorless, legendary creature, a halfling peasant. It's a 1/1. And when this enters the battlefield, create a food token. And whenever you create a token, just any token. I didn't catch that the first time. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control other than Rosie. Okay, yeah, I'm going with the B on this one. Maybe even a B plus.
Yes, it's a great card, right? I mean, it's a high value card because of all the things it can do there. There could be some cases where you kind of fizzle because it's the only card on the battlefield. It's also only got a one butt. I mean, it's going to be easy removal bait. But I'm with you on the B. As long as you can keep this thing in play, it's a nice little engine. It could really pump out some value for you.
Samwise, the Stout-Hearted. One white mana, one colorless, legendary creature, halfling peasant, which is 2/1 flash. When Samwise, the Stout-Hearted, enters the battlefield, choose up to one target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to your hand, then the ring tempts you. Well, I gave it a B minus because it's flash, it's 2 mana to cast, 2/1, and you're bringing something back that was put into your graveyard. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to be playing this every turn that I can because I want to get the value out of it. So, yeah, I gave it a B minus.
I gave this one a solid B. I think there's just so much potential for value here. Being that it's only 2 mana for a 2/1, it's good in the kind of aggressive white go wide strategy. Flash is great. Um, Being able to flash it in either because the opponent killed something on their turn or I just lost something on mine, and then I get bring the permanent back, and then the ring tempts me, man, there's just value everywhere. Welcome to Value Town. So I gave it a solid B.
I could probably change mine from a B minus to that. Yeah, I could see.
All right.
Okay,
Second
so
breakfast.
right, who doesn't love second breakfast? I mean, my house over here always has second breakfast. Just talk
Now
to
I
my
want
kids.
pancakes. Yeah.
They
Breakfast sounds great. Yeah.
they get banana milk in the morning, early in the morning, with the crack of sunlight, and then there's always second breakfast.
Awesome.
So, 1 white mana, 2 colorless, instant, up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+1 until end of turn. Create a food token. So, I gave it a C plus because I still feel like it's filler. It's filler with some upside to it. It's instant. It's a +2/+1. I think it's way better than just your standard filler, but I gave it a C plus.
Yeah, I struggled with this one because like in this last set, there were some flash combat trick cards, some white ones. One of them gave you, I think, +1/+1. Another did +2/+2 plus and flying. Both were awfully powerful in the right deck, and I don't love that this is 3 mana, but the fact that it can hit 2 creatures and it pumps out a food token, which may trigger other things that like we've been seeing here in the deck. I don't know, man. I gave it a B, but I understand the C plus. Like, it's definitely one of those things we'll have to see how it plays out, and it'll definitely be very sad if you have to play it and just hit 1 creature with it because that's all you've got. Like there's going to be some cases where it kind of fizzles. But I think it's a pretty good card in a white deck, so I gave it a B.
I agree. I mean, there will be times where I would probably prioritize it over. So yeah, for me, a C plus and a B minus are kind of the same thing. Like right there. So yeah, at that point for me, it goes up to a B minus. But yeah. Oh, and genre, does this set encompass all of Lord of the Ring or just Fellowship? Is there more Lord of the Ring stuff coming? I don't know. Is there?
No, I think John Ray was asking about, does it span all 3 of the Lord of the Ring trilogy, right? Or just the first, which was the Fellowship of the Ring? And I'm with John Ray. I think this is characters from all 3 of chapters of the trilogy because it has Gandalf the White, right?
Right.
He wasn't Gandalf the White at the end of Fellowship of the Ring. He was still Gandalf the Gray.
True. I think it's just what you said. They all 3 there. So, Shire Sheriff, 1 white mana, 1 colorless creature, halfling soldier, 2/2. It's vigilance, and when this enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a token. When you do, exile target creature an opponent controls until the Shire Sheriff leaves the battlefield. So, I gave it a B. 2 mana for a 2/2, and you got tokens or food or whatever, and you can get rid of one of their tokens, obviously great value, or if you have to, get rid of one of their cards on top of it, so that, yeah, I like this card a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I gave it a B, and I'm almost wondering if it won't end up being
B plus or A minus, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know that I'd do A minus because again, anything in the A range is supposed to be like a game winner, and I don't know that this is
That's true.
necessarily a game winner. It could definitely be a turner of the tides, though, right? Like if you go snag their key legendary using this little 2-drop, that's pretty awesome. Obviously, the risk here is just that it gets killed, and they get their permanent back. But yeah, man, this is a great card. I gave it a B also.
There we go. Trying to get the perfect. Doesn't matter. Okay, Slip on the Ring. 1 white mana, 1 colorless, instant. Exile target creature you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control. The ring tempts you. I gave it a C.
Me also, by the way, big points to WotC for flavor on this one, right? I love that it disappears and reappears essentially, right? Like putting the ring on. Great. They just did such a good job on flavor on a lot of these cards. So appreciate the artistry there. Yeah, I think this is very situational. I think it's something I would be happy to draft, but depending on how many creatures I have with ETBs, enter the battlefield effects, this may or may not be useful. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. Now, actually, one of the things this also makes me wonder about, I guess this would also be a way to save a creature that's been targeted by a removal spell, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would save it because the instant would go on top of the stack of
Yeah.
that spell. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, I like the sneakery of that. Might be tempted even into a C plus, but I'm gonna leave it as a C for now. See how this plays out.
Let's see. Soldier of the Grey Host, 1 white mana, 3 colorless. It's a creature, spirit soldier. That's a 2/2. It has flash. It's even flying. And when this enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I gave it a C plus, but with the flash and flying, maybe B minus C plus. I don't know. It's I'm gonna stick with C plus. I could go higher on this maybe.
I gave this one a B, but I understand the C plus, right? Because it's 4 mana and all I get's a 2/2. But when I throw in the fact, like you said, that it's flash and it's flying, and maybe I'm overvaluing flying, but I really think evasion is going to be more handy in this deck than like the average deck. I have not seen a lot of things with flying. So I think being able to go over the top of somebody is going to be pretty handy. But also that you could flash this in and do 4 damage to an attacking creature with it because you could buff itself, right? So it can flash in as a 4/2.
True. Yes. And then take out something. Exactly.
And take out something that's attacking flying or not. For 4 mana, it's pretty good, man. So yeah, I gave it a B. I might be being a little generous there. We'll find out.
I'll change mine to a B minus on this.
Okay.
It helps if I click on the Excel sheet instead of going bling with the Windows command. So just to reiterate what I talked about earlier in one of my YouTube channel uploads is that we are going to be making a spreadsheet of this that I'll put in Discord. So once we'll have it complete very soon after our complete set review. So y'all will have it. We'll also update it as the as the draft evolves. With the kind of our you'll have our initial reaction to this, our ratings to it, and then of course you'll have the aftermath of it as well. So let's see. Stalwarts of Asgiliath. What?
Was that Orcish?
It must be an Orcish town, right?
No, I don't think so.
Osgiliath?
Osgiliath? Osgiliath? Yeah.
Osgiliath? Yeah.
We need a proper Tolkien geek to come in here and correct our pronunciation after the stream.
This is how you say it.
Oh man, I was on another stream yesterday where there were some folks doing a set review like this, and one of the guys started speaking in like Orcish, with the growl and everything, like full on a scale of 1 to 10, geek factor 11. So they're out there. Genre, pronounce everything wrong on purpose. Yeah, that's a good way to go.
Hey, yeah, I get more interaction on YouTube that way.
You're gonna get a lot of comments on the mod, right?
It's gonna pump it up in the algorithm.
You're doing it wrong.
You idiot. No, it's like all right, so it's 1 white mana, 4 colorless, creature, human, soldier. It's a 4/3, and when this enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. And whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on Stalwarts of something something. So, it's 5 mana for a 4/3. The ring tempts you. That's nice. I had this at a D. I think I'll have this at a C minus.
I also had this at a D. I just feel like 4/3 is too underwhelming for 5 mana. I'm just picturing by the time in a game that I'm playing this. I don't know that having the ring tempts me. Well, to me, it's a perfect D, right? Like it's good situationally. If I'm in a deck where I'm really playing off of the ring temptation mechanic, then it's worth more to me. If I'm in a deck, again, maybe paired with blue, where I'm drawing a second card each turn, the +1/+1 gets activated. Now it's a lot more interesting, but just sitting here by itself, it's a solid D for me, which means it could be good situationally, but I'm not going to go out of
Yeah,
my way to try to draft this one.
I'm gonna go with the D plus on this because of the whole. If you're able to do the second card each turn, then it becomes more valuable, right?
Yeah, situationally, right?
So,
Yeah.
hey, big killer. Hopefully, you're doing good, big killer.
Oh, the Hope Enchantment. That's a great point. The one that comes in with the counters on it, and each turn you pull a counter off and draw a card. So yeah, that's a great point. That would activate this, and then really good point. If I had already drafted the Hope card, then I might draft this one. But again, situational, so I'm still calling it a D.
All right, so Tale of Tinuviel. Tinuviel.
Tale of Tender Veal.
Yeah, okay. I was pretty close.
Intentionally mispronouncing all of the Middle
Ten
Earth.
you feel.
Tinuviel? Tinuviel?
Tinuviel is probably right, but tin you feel, just so
I
someone
think a bunch
corrects
of
me.
these are silent. I think it's more like Tyrael. I think it's. But anyway, yes, let's go ahead.
2 white mana, 3 colorless. It's a saga, and when this the first saga is target creature you control gains indestructible for as long as you control the tail. And then Saga 2 is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And Saga 3, up to 2 target creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. So I saw it as a C. I could see this as a C plus because of the whole indestructible, and then you're given something lifelink with turn 3. So you're getting some life out of this. I mean, it's 5 mana. That's why I'm not going higher than this, but I see it as a C plus.
Yeah, I rated it a C. In certain situations, I think the value is going to be high, but there's going to be an equal number of situations where the value is going to be to me, and it is 5 mana. Sagas in general are not fast, right? So they need to be pretty strong. I do like the return card, second effect there, returning a creature from your graveyard directly to the battlefield. That was pretty nice. But like, think about the lifelink thing, right? Just because I can give 2 things lifelink doesn't mean I want to attack with them and watch them die, maybe. Right, but if I've got flyers on board, that's really interesting to me. So I don't know, man. It's a C to me, but conditionally it could be better.
The way I was looking at it is that you're giving one of your creatures indestructible for turn 1, 2, and 3, so that whichever one you gave indestructible, will get lifelink, and so you just send that in every turn.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And what if it's Frodo?
And what if it's or something even mega?
Mm-hmm. I know, but like, what if you've had the ring tempts you 4 times, right? Frodo's your ring bearer, and then you drop this thing and attack with Frodo. Game over, right? So
True.
Could be cool, but also could be kind of So perfectly fine card, but I don't know that I would prioritize it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to play it in my deck, but I wouldn't have more than one. So, took Reaper, 1 white mana, 1 colorless creature, halfling peasant. It's a 2/1, and when this dies, the ring tempts you. I just gave it a C. because of a
I did.
2-1.
Yeah, I did too. A 2-1 for 2, perfectly fine. The extra upside of the ring temps use, cool, but nothing crazy. By the way, where that the saga we just talked about, where that gets interesting is also if you're in a deck where you're milling or sacking things, and then you can play this and bring something back. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know, um, so if you can create a little bit of a feedback loop there, that's pretty interesting.
All right, so War of the Last Alliance, 1 white mana, 3 colorless. It's a saga. For Saga 1 and 2, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. On the Phase 3, creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn, ring tempt you. So I gave it a B minus. If you're able to draw some, if you draft, there are some legendary creatures, sure. So you could probably get some value out of that. But the double strike at the end of, that's the upside for me. So I gave it a B minus.
I gave it a B. I do like it's only 4 mana too. There's a bunch of legendary stuff in this set. So as I said, there's been a lot of jokes on other streams about everything's legendary. I mean, so you could fish a lot of things out of there, and often your better cards are going to be legendary. So being able to go and seek it twice, that's really strong to me. But even if that doesn't play out that well, the last effect of giving everything double strike is just such a great synergy for white, which again wants to go wide. That I think that could be a game ender right there, or at least wipe the opponent out pretty badly, right? So if you got a bunch of stuff on board now, it's all got double strike. That's a whole different game. So I like this one pretty well. I gave it a B.
Yeah, I changed it to a B. I agree. When I first started my review and I got down to this, I'm like, and then after the review, I can change it, to straight B here. Westfold Rider, 1 white mana, 1 colorless creature human knight. That's a 3/1. You can also sacrifice it and destroy target artifact or enchantment, and activate only as a sorcery. I gave this a B minus because it's a 3/1 for 2, great blocker in case you can't attack in. But the upside is there are some enchantments and artifacts in this set that are worthy to be taken out. So I could see this as a C plus or a B minus. I went with B minus.
Yeah, and sorry, I was looking up Genre's question about the number of legendaries in white. I just went to my little sheet and I found 11. So that's just in white alone, right? So there's tons of legendaries. So the Westfold Rider, I mean, the fact that it's a 3/1 for 2 is pretty darn good. The fact that you can destroy an artifact or enchantment is nice, but the fact that that's only sorcery speed is kind of eh. So I gave it a C. Maybe I should give it a C plus now that I'm talking out loud.
Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking, I forgot that one little sentence there. Activate only as a sorcery, and that would have caught me inside the draft table too. I got to give it a C plus. I'm changing my B minus to a C plus.
Okay. All right, last one in white.
You cannot pass.
You cannot pass.
1 white mana instant. Destroy target creature that blocked or was blocked by a legendary creature this turn. So I gave it a B minus. Do I want to change this to a C plus? I'm gonna leave it at B minus for now.
I originally gave it a C. I think I'm going to bump that up to a C plus. It's just because of the fact that it's conditional on a legendary creature is the only reason I wouldn't rank it higher. I think this spell's going to be a big pain in the butt to play around.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't really want to play against it. It's so annoying that it's only 1 mana and it's instant speed. Right? So I don't know, man. um, it could be really good, but I'm good at C plus. You're at B minus. That makes sense.
Imagine what John Ray just said, using this on the legendary invincible squirrel outside of the set.
Heck yeah.
The squirrel. You cannot
From
pass.
Squirrel of Death. It's like Monty Python. What? Behind the rabbit?
Oh my gosh.